Today on Investigate TV Plus, air travel can bring chaos and stress.
But we uncovered in major airports around the country, critical infrastructure issues could lead to more headaches for travelers.
There are limits to how uneven concrete can be.
We have an in-depth look at which airports are sinking and the potential impacts to air travel.
It's just like your roads coming apart. But the difference is we're traveling when we hit the ground or on takeoff at near 200 miles per hour.
Plus, a teen opens up about her struggles with mental health and how she found a positive purpose.
It helps me ground myself.
We share her story of survival.
Then,
this knife is probably about 15 hours in right now.
Meet the bladesmiths creating custom knives using ancient methods in modern times.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Almost 3 million passengers across 45,000 flights, according to the latest FAA data. That's how many people in planes the agency helps navigate the skies every day in America. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Flying these days means more than 5,000 planes in the sky at peak times and almost 20,000 airports, counting public and private. It's some of those airports we want to highlight today, including concerns about their critical runway infrastructure.
We found more than a dozen major airports around the country are sinking, and it's not a quick fix.
Investigative reporter Stephen Stock has an in-depth look at how this could cause delays and cancellations and raises questions of airplane safety and wear and tear.
Flying in or out of major airports on the east or west coast, you've likely already seen evidence of the problem and didn't even realize it. Water on or beside runways or taxiways, even on sunny days. Large puddles in front of active gates. Cracks and broken pavement, different levels of concrete where the ground underneath is moving.
So those are runways.
Dr. Manucher Shirzai and his team analyzed and color-coded precise satellite data that measures this ground movement.
So the red is not
going
good.
down.
Going down.
It's bad.
By analyzing 30 years worth of that satellite data, Shirzai's Earth Observation and Innovation Lab team at Virginia Tech found that more than a dozen major airports around the country are sinking.
For example, this is San Francisco, right? And look at all the red there.
We see majority of these airports experiencing downward motion or differential motion.
The technical name for this sinking, it's called subsidence.
Which has implication for the safety of the runways and maintenance costs.
Take a look at some of the satellite radar readings showing airports Boston to Newark, Miami to Fort Lauderdale, Philadelphia to LaGuardia, LAX to San Diego. Shirzai's team examined more than 24 different airports located along the coast. The team found some issues with all but 2 of those airports. The airports with the most significant issues: San Francisco, Tampa, Seattle, Portland, New York's John F. Kennedy, and Washington's Reagan National Airports.
What are the implications for these airports sinking?
It means quite a bit of maintenance costs, but also running airplanes on a tarmac with the engine on, waiting for the drying the runway may add additional cost.
But it's not just sinking, it's the fact that this satellite data shows parts of these airports are moving, either sinking or rising, at different rates. That can cause this: standing water, cracked and uneven pavement, broken pipes, and potholes. We looked through 15 years of NTSB investigation reports and found at least 8 instances across 5 states, mostly involving small aircraft, where potholes or sinkholes were blamed for causing accidents on runways.
Ground subsidence and movement so impact safety and future planning that Shirzai and his team have actually briefed the Department of Defense on the issue. What are the implications for safety?
I don't want to be dramatic and scare people, but there are possibilities that, specifically when runways are wet and don't dry rapidly, airplane, specifically big airplane that needs a significant amount of friction to brake and longer runways to stop, may run into trouble.
There are limits to how uneven concrete can be.
American Airlines Captain Dennis Tager is concerned that any sinking, cracking, flooding, or uneven pavement that comes along with subsidence might impact aircraft safety.
while I'm landing or taking off at a very fast speed, is there an uneven point where I hit it, like your car, and then shudder and damage to my gear or a tire blows out?
In fact, this study of airport runways shows that rough runways can damage and shorten the life of an aircraft. It can decrease stability and can even make commonly used aborted takeoffs and landings, called go-arounds, more dangerous.
Your investigation has exposed to me just how serious this is.
A spokesman for the Allied Pilots Association, the union that represents 15,000 American Airlines pilots, Tager compares sinking runways and taxiways to bad pavement on the highway. The difference is airplanes are heavier and traveling at much higher speeds than cars.
It's just like your road's coming apart. But the difference is we're traveling when we hit the ground or on takeoff at near 200 miles per hour. So when you hit an unlevel lip on the concrete, like your car, the faster you're going, the more damage it can do.
As for water on or around runways and taxiways, while airplanes are designed to operate in the rain, Tager says standing water can reduce what he calls safety margins for high-speed air operations.
That can affect our stopping distance. It can affect our controllability. So it's a cascading effect of the narrowing of the margin.
In fact, sinking airports have already had an impact. Hawaii's Kona International had to close and cancel 26 flights while workers repaired a crack and pothole that developed in the runway. New Orleans Armstrong International has spent about $500,000 fixing issues related to sinking there, though an airport spokesperson says that's to be expected.
Yes, we have settlement. No, it's not a problem. Particularly, for the traveling public, the apron is in outstanding shape. The connections to the runway to the airfield are in great shape.
San Francisco International has spent another $500,000 and has had to close portions of its runways for at least 90 days since 2016. Resulting in at least 1,100 canceled flights and 13,000 delays. All of it, Captain Tager says, seemingly small issues that indicate a bigger problem that now has his attention.
You as a pilot give it your attention because a bunch of small things add up and suddenly it's a tidal wave. But what concerns me the most is we're in unprecedented territory.
Unprecedented, Tager says, because this uneven sinking now impacts so many airports all over the country, descending with consequences for the future of aviation.
When our team asked the FAA about this, they sent us a statement that reads in part, quote, "The FAA is directing its resilience efforts more towards severe weather, sea level rise, and related risks that can be mitigated with infrastructure improvements at an airport. Land subsidence is a regional scale challenge that is beyond the FAA's purview." Some of the airports in this story responded to us saying they regularly monitor their runways and pavement conditions for safety standards. You can read their full responses on InvestigateTV.com. Just search sinking airports.
Still ahead.
It really was night and day difference.
A man who used traditional medicines to manage his depression says he never saw relief until now.
I've seen people make a total 180 turnaround.
We take an in-depth look at a sometimes controversial drug.
Plus, a teen who faced mental health struggles of her own finds a recipe for recovery.
It's nice to give something to my family when they've put in a lot of support and love to me, and I can just give them back by baking.
We introduce you to the survivor who finds solace in the kitchen.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
Mental health can be a tough conversation, but it is an important one.
In the next few stories, we're going to talk about teen mental health and suicide in particular. If you're in crisis or know someone who is, there is help. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7. Just call or text 988.
The CDC tracks many pieces of the teen and youth mental health picture. In 2023, about 40% of U.S. high school students reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness in the past year.
A study published in JAMA Network in 2024 shows it's also affecting children as young as 8. Researchers found each year from 2008 to 2022, suicides among 8 to 12-year-olds increased more than 8%.
A Michigan teenager who survived her own suicide attempt is now speaking out about her experience in hopes to break the stigma.
But she's also sharing her newfound coping strategy, what she calls a recipe for recovery.
13-year-old Lila Smith holding plates full of muffins, the efforts of her newfound hobby. It was a Facebook post by her dad, Chris, hoping to land her an apprenticeship at a local bakery and share Lila's story.
Because it might help others too.
You see, Lila's story includes a traumatic chapter that took place in late October of 2024.
I'm a suicide attempt.
Lila says she tried to take her own life after an extended period of feeling hopeless and isolated.
Then getting drawn to a point where it feels like the only option.
She spent 8 days in the hospital recovering from her self-inflicted injury and another 10 days in the psychiatric care of a therapist.
She's helped me understand that the emotions, like, they're normal and how to cope with them and different ways to distract yourself.
Lila discovered her favorite distraction was in the kitchen.
After I got back from the hospital, I just wanted something to be able to do, and it seemed fun.
Lila found solace in the simplicity of combining sugar, flour, and butter.
If I'm like spiraling or just starting to think about something, then it helps me like ground myself.
Baking cakes and pies, a delicious distraction from her mental health challenges.
See, I'm good for something, right?
Helping Lila whip up a loaf of brownie bread revealed how she uses baking to cope.
Very therapeutic for her to have her hands busy, her mind busy, and doing something that means something to her.
For Lila, baking has become an edible expression of appreciation for all the family support. Her secret ingredient? Love.
They've been there for me, like, by my side, like, through the entire time.
So she's baking, right? What an amazing way to share her gift.
Elizabeth Sawyer-Danowski is a clinical social worker who provides mental health therapy to children and their families.
So I say to kiddos, it's very important, if you're not okay, it's okay not to be okay. But we can't live there forever.
Danowski says medication and regular sessions with a therapist are important treatments in helping someone recover from a suicide attempt. And so is finding positive coping skills, which she calls distractions from the hurt.
We gotta find a way. We gotta find some light in the darkness. So let's figure that out. Maybe it's baking. And so, like, with the baking, then can we share the baking?
It's nice to give something to my family when they've put in a lot of support and love to me, and I can just give them back by baking. There we go.
For Lila, baking, therapy sessions, and medication, it's all in the mix. And right now, it's the perfect recipe for her recovery.
I'm getting better. I mean, it's a long process, but it's getting better slowly.
And the point of her dad's post in the first place, sharing Lila's story so other teens will know
that it's okay to express your emotions, because it will hurt more if you don't express how you're feeling, and that you're not alone and it's okay to feel.
The National Alliance on Mental Health offers resources from support groups to help navigate insurance. It also offers a support group for families. You can head to NAMI.org for more information. Again, for those in crisis, you can call or text 988 at any time.
Our search for mental health solutions continues, with a drug helping some out of their deepest depressions.
I was debilitated. I couldn't function.
Still ahead, we examine how it works and how it's giving some people hope for the future. For some with treatment-resistant depression and post-traumatic stress, ketamine in a clinical setting can provide instant and lasting relief.
As soon as I came out of that first session, with her, I took the eye mask off and I said, everybody needs access to this. Everybody needs access to this.
I describe it as I went in the first time and my battery was at 5%. And when I left, I almost skipped out of the clinic. My energy was at like 95%.
In January 2025, the FDA approved esketamine, a derivative of ketamine, as a standalone treatment for treatment-resistant depression. This means patients are not required to have a prescription for an antidepressant in order to take the drug.
An Arizona man says he spent years searching for the right combination of drugs to manage his depression and saw instant relief with esketamine.
Reporter Michaela Marshall shows us how it works and how it's helping some heal.
I was debilitated. I couldn't function.
Spencer Eldridge has always struggled with depression. He tells me over the years he's attempted just about everything to manage it, to no avail.
I kind of just felt stuck, and that's as good as it's going to get.
Spencer finally found relief. He says things immediately got better when he gave Spravato a try.
It's so life-changing.
Spravato is a ketamine-derived nasal spray that is FDA approved for treatment-resistant depression. The Johnson & Johnson drug has been on the market since 2019, but could only be prescribed alongside an oral antidepressant. That changed when the FDA greenlit Spravato as a standalone therapy.
So if an antidepressant isn't working for a client now, what we can do is we could stop that antidepressant and initiate the esketamine, the Spravato, without continuing another drug. It has been a game changer.
Camelback Integrated Health and Wellness Dr. Robbie Westerman explains this is not something you can just pick up at a pharmacy and take at home. Because of the risks for sedation, disassociation, abuse, and misuse, it's only available at healthcare settings that are part of the manufacturer's Certified Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy program.
It's pretty intense. It's got to be monitored. It's very, very regulated. The superiority to this medication versus other antidepressants makes it worth it.
And this is the therapy room. Patients sit in a recliner like this one to self-administer the medication under the supervision of a medical provider. And all three of these nasal spray devices are used in 1 2-hour session.
It does feel good, but it doesn't feel like you're getting high or something.
It's safe. I've never had any complications. I've seen people make a total 180 turnaround.
Spencer says his insurance covers the cost, and he credits ketamine for his improved mental health.
It really was night and day difference.
He says it activates his brain in a way that allows him to process his emotions and take charge of his life in ways he never thought possible.
I wish I would have done it sooner.
Without insurance, Spravato cost about $880 for 2 nasal spray devices. According to its website, most private insurance plans cover the drug. It does have a savings program where eligible patients can pay as little as $10 per treatment.
Still ahead,
something like this is a Damascus sandmine knife.
A medieval craft gets a modern twist.
And then we have these different layers that we made ourselves on the outside.
Meet the bladesmiths hand-forging artisan knives.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
It's the cutting edge of tools, literally. According to Britannica, cutting tools and weapons used for hunting and defense were first made from stones and flint, and later of bronze and iron.
And today's knives are typically made with stainless steel.
It's a practice that may sound ancient, but some knives are still forged by hand to this day.
Reporter Io Elise introduces us to some modern bladesmiths.
If you come in and give one a try, you'll know the difference.
Whoa. That was so easy.
A handcrafted knife can make all the difference when making your next kitchen creation. Portland is known as the knife capital of the U.S., with 4 major manufacturers here. So naturally, it's home to bladesmiths, including a collective called Acre Forge in North Portland. Jameson Chop is the lead bladesmith.
I was at the time actually working in finance and banking and in a cubicle, and I grew up on a farm. I grew up working with my hands, making furniture, and then I actually kind of stumbled upon the idea of custom knife making.
Then learned how through an apprenticeship. Adam Andrews got there a slightly different way.
I was ready to spend a few $100s on a nice kitchen knife, and then came upon a website that was like, make your own, you know, for 50 bucks kind of thing. And I stumbled through the process of learning it. Like any hobby, you know, you just kind of keep grinding at it and get better.
Now he hand forges knives, which means layering and melding metal together to create a solid base for a sharp knife.
Forging is my happy place, and it's the first step in the knife making. And so after that, it's just downhill as far as I'm concerned.
That forging process can create some unique designs on the knives themselves, Ryan Cavallo explains.
You know, if you get more than 5 or 10 layers, we start to call that Damascus. And so, so all that layered steel is actually, it's actual layers of steel. It's marbled all the way through the knife. It's not lasered on or anything. So when you grind into it, you get these crazy topographical patterns. And so, yeah, we do like high-end art sort of knives like that. And then we also do a stainless steel series that's a little more accessible to buy.
Acre Forge is known for each of its knives having a human touch behind it, whether it's hand finished or custom made. The best tip when looking for a great kitchen knife, the thinner, the better.
A good knife will provide excellent performance, not just out of the box, but for months and years to come.
Well, I learned something there. I did not know that Portland was the knife capital of the U.S.
That's what we do on this show. We teach you some fun facts.
See? How about that?
Yeah.
We all learn together.
And you know, knives are important. I have my favorite kitchen knife.
Do you?
You know that I have to know where it is so I can cook my meals.
All right, that's
yeah,
good.
Knives are important.
Yes, they are.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm T. Chappelle.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, trains block railroad crossings for hours, sometimes disrupting traffic, including emergency services.
They put my life at risk that night. That precedent should not override my right to get to the hospital in time to save my life.
We investigate what's being done to clear these tracks and stop putting lives on the line.